what is happening with this with respect to the global possibilities, and Ed, related to all the diverse amount of corporate business leaders that can be interested in what this is? Michael?
Yeah, and so you make a great point. I have two parts to the answer. One is in terms of how we build this up. I already mentioned we wanted to go to the FDA first because it's the highest standard, rather than go to maybe other countries where there's less oversight, regulatory oversight, and try it out there. I thought it was unethical. So I went for the FDA first, and now we have that. We're already going to first world countries in Asia and other places, Europe, and working with their regulatory agencies to essentially extend the clinical trial we already did. Separate from that, we always wanted to go into the developing world, but with a safe system that is, as good as it can be. And so I cannot disclose yet. It will be in the press release that's coming out next week. And I'm not sure when this is coming out, but we are working together with a very important international organization, because what I'm interested in the developing world is show that this AI can actually improve healthcare worker productivity. That has never been shown. You would be surprised. AI has actually never been shown to improve productivity. And so, we want to do that, and we have the plan together, and we're actually implementing it in a developing country, which shall remain nameless for a few more days. Sorry about that. But those are the very exciting things to bread. It's so scalable, right? But you want to make sure it's ready for scaling, and it's ready.
Can you just whisper it and we won't tell anybody?
Don't do it. Don't do it. He will tell. He will tell. Well, one of the other things that makes me think of too, Michael and Stephen and Robert, as you're talking about it, just this conversation makes me want to co-create all the other innovations we could do around this. I was like, coming out of this conversation, hey, why don't we use it for A, B, C, D, E? So just by putting it out there now and having that really solid foundation that's been scientifically developed and validated, then allows, once you've done sort of that heavy lifting, to kind of look at through other lenses, if you will, whether it be skin or, Stephen, you were mentioning, what would it look like in terms of lung and different areas like that. And I will say, one of the interesting points, almost every group that we talk to now, not surprisingly, since probably February on, has always raised, no matter what we're talking about in terms of the UN SDGs, we do a lot of work as across a variety of them. And so in that sort of space, we talk to corporates and governments and things like that. But number one, they talk about COVID. So like, okay, what do you got going with COVID? And number two, around the justice related issue. And in some ways, if you even look at it from the healthcare system side, we had thought about, well, how does this potentially help even in terms of dealing with COVID? And one of the thoughts that we came up with was collectively, well, if you don't have a huge number of people, if you can offload the people waiting in waiting rooms, kind of, together in hospitals and things like that are busy actually triaging sick people, that's actually a way to prevent spread as well, if you can kind of touch them in places where they're in a retail environment or what have you anyway. So even things like that, you wouldn't necessarily think that would be, connected with a COVID-19, but it doesn't take very long to uncover other aspects of it, which could be beneficial for dealing with current issues. The other part would as it relates to the, a lot of the leaders on the corporate side, they're spending an enormous amount of money in terms of trying to advance where we're at as a community and as a society in terms of the whole structural setup from a racism standpoint. And oftentimes they don't necessarily know where to apply a dollar to create the highest ROI in terms of the impact side. It's interesting, they bring a system like this in, a digital diagnostic system in, they can literally point to communities to say, look, we brought this in, and 2 years later, there's a significant decrease in people who are blind or going blind because, it specifically be able to point towards something extremely concrete.